I'm going to play this excerpt from the elder brother, Dr. Kaba. The Shabahka Stone is definitely a hard read, very small book though. But it's understanding it's stone. It's not about the book. It's more about understanding why information was put in stone, not that we didn't have or couldn't use paper. Even when you're dealing with the hieroglyphs, I need you to understand that's a point that goes misunderstood because it's about stone. The stone itself has a purpose, and it also holds memory. But the shabahka stone is something I'll explain as soon as you watch this video. Stay tuned. I'll be right back.
Everything that is written, carved on the shabahka stone is what we teach in our science classes today. What is important is how encompassing this story is on the shabahka stone. And as we move through this process, we look at the second philosophy, which is the essences of pre-existing order and arrangement, where the shabahka stone and our ancestors spoke about the early formers of all of the molecules and all of the atoms coming into existence. The nun, nunet, the ha, the hahet, the kak, kaket, and the amun and amunet. In other words, they talked about the nun being matter, the nunet being space, the ha being infinity, and the hahet is finity. The kak is the darkness, kaket is the light. The amen is the hidden, and the amenet is the revealed. The male and the female entities. What's important is that our ancestors understood you cannot have a male without a female. So there was never a conception of a male-only God. And as we travel throughout Africa and look at the many, many thousands of nations that reside in Africa, the common theme is that all things come into being by the coming together of the male and the female. And it brings forward life.
Now, what makes the shabahka stone so important is because he expressed the need for two beings to equal God, not one. And, in religion, that takes away from that. However, I told you that the Kabbalah is next, but before I got into that, I can only do these in small bits. So what I figured I would do is give you this understanding from the shabahka stone. Page 86 to 89, I believe. I could be wrong, but if you have the book, you'll understand what I'm saying. In the book, there's 3 points that I think that are the most major points when you're dealing in Kemetic science. That's that's precepts, concepts, intuitive mind. Those 3 things equal life to every existence. So in the shabahka stone, first you got to understand or learn how the shabahka stone was created or is produced. Because it's not just a natural stone. It's something derived over years. And it has to do with urine. They used to say you could drink your urine to sustain energy and vitamins and things like that. Well, that goes to show how true that is. And that is one of the reasons why we are dealing with the shabahka stone before we deal with the Kabbalah. Because the Kabbalah is the tree of life. But the tree of life deals with 3, not 2. But, we'll get into what those 3 things are. But those 3 things derive from precepts, concepts, intuitive mind. See, as long as the mind understands or believes or knows or thinks it can create it. Doesn't mean that it's actual or factual. It just means that it creates it. Now, where it creates or what realm it creates or what atmosphere or timeline it creates it in is the entire question. Because just because you put something out there doesn't mean it's coming directly back to you. That's what we need to understand when we're dealing with the atmosphere and how things, are spoken to in existence. If one learns how to create the metaphysical realm with pure thought, which there's ways to do so. And that is actually, before I move forward, that is the purpose to the Kabbalah, the tree of life. Look it up. You might not understand it when you look it up, but you'll understand it when I go through it quickly. And then maybe one day I'll break down a whole hour video to show you exactly the proof you need. But I'm only giving you bits and pieces so you can do your own information. Remember, I'm your host, Darnell Henderson. Until then, wait a second. This is also to show you the power of the indigenous man. And it does not matter whether you're in Africa or America, Japan, anywhere in the world. If you are of dark hue, you are related. So once again, I am your host, Darnell Henderson. Until then, back at you, baby. Facts.